Hi guys, Tin Spence here again. I've had this conversation online. In my lives, a lot of people come and talk to me. The topic of conversation just goes from one to another. And one time, somebody was complaining about the NHS and he said the NHS was useless, and it really hurt me, He actually said, oh, you were upset the other day, like very recently, he was like, oh, you're upset the other day. I'm like, yeah, I was upset because that's where I work. He did explain that it was, for him, it's like a comparison between the way it was before and the way it is now. I do know that there's a lot of people that has been here before I even went to this country, so I don't know how it was before. I don't know what's the difference, but a lot of people do say that it was a lot better in the past. I just hear that's the people's feedback. Staff, even like for pension, they were saying it was so much better before, but obviously I don't know. I don't know how it was before. My perception and way of comparing is only from how healthcare is in another country and how it is here. For me, my experiences, I used to work in the Philippines. I worked as a nurse in the Philippines for about 2 years before I moved to the UK. I worked in a private hospital. You have to pay to be served. My experience of working in the public hospital in Philippines is when I was a student, and it was very different. I remembered working in the delivery suites. You just have this big room and a lot of ladies with their legs up beside each other. Some of them, they don't even have enough local anesthetic. We don't have enough budget for the local anesthetic, and sometimes you even have to share the vial, and we don't have that problem here in this country. So when I worked in the private hospital, I got rotated everywhere. I worked in the wards, I worked in the emergency department and the operating room. Because it's a private hospital and it's not really a big hospital either, you don't have operations every day. There would be 2 nurses and 1 midwife in the manning the emergency department. There will be patients every day, but it's not that crazy. It doesn't really get that crazy. My role is be an emergency department nurse. At the same time, if there's any minor surgeries that we have to do like as outpatients, I would be the assistant to that. If we have an operation, 2 of us will be inside the operating room or theaters, and we will be assisting. I will scrub for that. The midwife will be circulating, and then the nurse will be scrubbing for the case. They will put 1 nurse from the ward to go downstairs to man the emergency room while we were inside operating. If there's a baby, like if we did a cesarean section and there's a baby, I would have to give the baby the medications. If there's any IV antibiotics that need to be given to a baby, if they end up in an incubator, but the midwife will be the one who will be with the baby the whole time. If we need to get some newborn screening, I need to get the blood from the baby. I used to be the one to cannulate all the patients that go through the emergency department. I had really good cannulating skills, a long time ago. I haven't done cannulation in a very long time now. I'm not as confident in that anymore now. I've been a scrub nurse for such a long time. What I have experienced while I was working in the emergency room is that I have encountered a lot of patients. Some of them really don't have much money. You'll get some patients who have hypertension, and because they already know, they already know that they have hypertension, and they've already been prescribed maintenance medications for their hypertension, but because they can't afford it, they always end up coming back because they can maintain the medications that they're meant to be taking every day. It's like just a cycle. They had to choose between, do I feed my family or do I buy my medication? Sometimes they just neglect their own medications. Even though we are in an emergency room, there is nothing there that we can use. you need to buy your stuff first before we can use it on you. For example, if we really need to put IV light on you, it will be prescribed by the doctor. They will put it on a prescription, and then you'll have to go to the pharmacy and buy all of that. Syringes, needles, medications, IV fluids. You have to buy all of that, come back, and then that's the only time we'll be able to deal with you. If you can't afford the medication that you have to get, there's nothing for us to use. We can't do anything. As a nurse, for somebody who's doing this profession, it's difficult to work that way because sometimes you feel bad for the patients that can't afford the stuff that they need for an urgent treatment. There are a lot of times where we felt like, oh, let's just buy it for them. But realistically, you can't always do that. Well, first of all, I won't be able to afford that. But to be honest with you, I have been tempted. Like, I think I've done it about a couple of times. That makes you feel like you're unable to care for certain patients because they don't have the money for it. Even when you have to do an operation, even if you have to have an emergency operation, you have to put a down payment of half the amount, and that's really expensive. You know how much surgeries cost? In the Philippines, it's probably less expensive compared to like in the UK if you're gonna have to pay for the operation itself from your own pocket. Still, in the Philippines, it's still expensive. You'll have to pay at least an initial down payment for that. And some people find it so difficult to pay that. I've seen people writing promissory notes and trying to pay every month. It's really sad to see. You have to base on how much money the person has on whether or not you will care for them. You get prioritized according to who can pay more. For me, as a healthcare professional, if I compare my work before to my work now, I feel so much better about my work now because at least I know that we prioritize our patients according to who needs it more. And I think I prefer to work that way, lighter on my conscience. We have to do this patient urgently based on how life-threatening their condition is. So you can have no money in your pocket and people will try to save your life. I feel so much safer that way. I appreciate the fact that in this country you have the NHS, and I appreciate the fact that I work for the NHS. I hope you like this video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. I'm a ninja without a name, don't fall in love. I'm a ninja without a name. Don't fall in love. Available on my eBay.